he
like at the Menards almost.
No sound.
And then you told me you found them.
I'll find valid in your eyes.
Like if you don't find them tonight,
You'll always be my night
I
sky.
mean, you tell me that thing's gonna fend for itself. That won't make it through the night. I mean, his only thing is he's so disgusting. Something might not want to eat it.
You'll always be my night sky.
Inside my thoughts, and when I start to think, oh, the how close it starts to end up on the brink. I tried so hard, but all these scars, they cut so deep, I bleed. I fell so fast from heaven, it's like someone clipped my wings. Now I'm falling, and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye. I laid awake just begging to let go. I almost got to suicidal thoughts, but you stepped in. An angel sent from heaven showed me how to live again. Now I'm falling and I can't see the ground. Can we stop this gravity? It keeps bringing me down. I can't breathe and I don't wanna die. Can we stop this gravity? 'Cause I don't wanna say goodbye.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Diggity Podcast. I'm Jeff James, always with me, the incredible, unobtainable, luscious Brody Folds, and even more incredible guest tonight. you want to introduce yourself? See if someone can guess who it is from the Bot Rescue.
What's going on, everybody? Leron Dawkins here, better known as X's803 from the Crossroads PlayStation Podcast show from Boss Rush Games. How's it going?
Man, it's great to have you on the show again. It's been a while. It's been a good amount of time, dude.
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I've been telling myself for a while I need to make rounds and you guys and a couple other shows that I've been on and stuff like that. And it's just just been busy. Like we just had our 50th episode this week, and it was literally like even though like the episode was only like 98 minutes, like it was literally like 4 weeks worth of prepping and everything, and now it's still doing other podcast shows, in the run up to it and stuff. And man, like it was nerve wracking because I was like, I need to make sure this is right, but at the same time, it was fun.
That's awesome, dude. Congrats on the 50th. That's a big milestone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Yeah.
I was even on that episode with you.
Yeah, you were.
It was fantastic. That was a fun episode to do. It was a great time.
It was great. Like we abbreviated the format for that. Like normally our show is basically like a news show, and then the last segment of the show is like basically a big talk topic.
Mm-hmm. But
this time we just at first the original plan was to not have any news and just be a bunch of nerds, the entire night and stuff. But as things progressed and we got closer and closer to showtime, I was like, okay, we might want to pad the time of the show just a little bit. So I was like, okay, I found like some real quick news bits and stuff and turned them into like little small blurbs and just like, I think after the edits, Brody, like the news blurb section came out to like 28 minutes. when my original plan was for the news blurbs to be like 11 minutes max.
You should know better when you have me on the show. I can talk about anything for way too long and really not say much of anything at all.
Oh yeah.
Speak lots of words and say nothing. It's fantastic.
It's a gift.
Yeah, and also we had a brand new person that we brought on as our official fourth chair for the show and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, like we had to get his personality in there too and stuff. But it was good times. I was just glad we didn't crash and burn on episode 50.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I still can't believe this day this is episode 222.
Man.
Of Diggity.
Man, the big leagues.
It's a lot. And actually, we never talked about it, and I didn't realize it until the other day, but we've been doing this 3 years now.
Yeah, straight.
We just hit our third year at the end of August there.
Yeah, I know.
Great.
We get like a little cake, but we didn't.
Crossroads is just 1 years old.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I guess we're going out for dinner tomorrow, right, Brody? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. Get like a little cake. We'll just lie and say it's someone's birthday. It is someone's birthday, but
it's our podcast birthday, and then also a friend of ours' birthday.
Yeah, but never mind him.
The podcast comes first.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways,
okay, so you guys both live in the same area?
Yeah. Brody's
That's
like
cool.
a half hour away from me.
That's cool. The fourth guy, the new guy that we got, he's the only person that lives even in my same like area code.
Okay. Gotcha.
Nelly's in Florida, Austin's in Oklahoma, so we'd have to plan for like a get together.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and that's all different time zones too. So that is another variable of complication that happens. We're pretty blessed for that.
We tried to do a show with the Grief Burrito guys, and it's just so hard to figure that out because they're over in the UK.
Oh man!
And so it's like completely opposite.
Was it like a 6 hour time difference?
6 hours
from the East Coast, right? Yeah,
we'll get it figured out one day. We're just trying to get everything lined up. Yeah. So, but anyways, it's a different kind of show this week. A little light on news, so we're kind of going to discuss topics, and then I think obviously, like any show, stuff comes up. It comes up, and we just discuss it, like whatever, So, Brody, you kind of want to lead this?
Yeah. So this topic actually comes from Nick over at WASD. I was talking to him. He was going to try to be on the show tonight, but he couldn't. His fiance was not feeling well. But he kind of helped me come up with the topic, and it's he thought it'd be a cool idea to talk about the state of gaming as far as alphas, betas, and early access games, and just kind of what that actually even means anymore. And we kind of talked about that the other day on Crossroads, where, alphas and betas are very different than what they used to be. And so I thought it'd be kind of interesting to dive into that and just kind of get, your takes on it, your personal experiences with it. Also, I mean, in the same realm, the state of games that do release and maybe they should have been an alpha or a beta or early access or whatever. I mean, it just kind of what you've experienced, whether, you have specific games that come to mind or even some upcoming games that, are potentially going to be in an early access state or whatever it may be. So, especially as a PC gamer over there, Leron, I'm sure you've come across a lot of early access games because it seems to be more common on Steam than anywhere. But
I mean, the first thing I guess is like, what's the recent beta or alpha that everyone's played?
The last one I was in was Back 4 Blood, and I am going to embarrass myself because I only played about 15 minutes of it. That's how busy I was. Like,
it's not to speak to the game, how busy you were though, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. Back 4 Blood is on my list of games that I will have in my library. I just because this is the second because they had an alpha and they didn't really call this a beta. I think they just called this more like a server testing for the second one. But I missed the alpha altogether, so I was like, I need to try and get on this one. And so I got on it for maybe all of 15, 20 minutes, and I had fun and stuff. I mean, but it'd been so long since I played Left 4 Dead that I forgot damn near everything. So, like, and even though the classes are new, but they're still the same and stuff like that, it was like, man, like, I was a little overwhelmed. But that's the most recent one that came to my mind. It plays great. Like I didn't have any of the problems. Like I didn't even check like the results. Like after like those programs end and stuff like that, they usually the developers will put out like the topic list and everything about what they encountered and things that they're going to work on and stuff like that. Yeah. I didn't really look at it, so I don't know a lot of what was going on in it, but I didn't encounter a whole bunch of problems on it myself. So like maybe I'm like the worst person to talk about alpha or beta right now.
Wasn't that was the game too that was coming under fire for lack of detail or something like that in it? Is that
that was one of them.
Yeah, that's interesting. Are they gonna Brody? Do you know if the devs have discussed if they're gonna do anything about that, or is it just kind of like hey, this is a game? Like,
I haven't really seen any big changes that are supposed to be coming. They haven't really mentioned anything, but I'm also not following that game super closely. Yeah. I remember playing a lot of Left 4 Dead back in the day, but this one, for whatever reason, really it doesn't interest me as much anymore. I guess I don't know. It's just my tastes have changed quite a bit, and finding a group of 4 to actually play through this game might be tough because it's usually like 2 of us that are on at a time.
So. Well, and your recent alpha that you've played is new Call of Duty, right? New COD?
Yeah, I played the new Call of Duty alpha, Vanguard. It was just one limited game mode, which was a new game mode. And then also played the beta for Riders Republic, both the closed and the open once it went live. So, I mean, I usually try to get in as many betas and alphas as we can, obviously, because some of them kind of stink because, they're closed and then you can't actually get on here and talk about them or whatever. But, yeah, we definitely try to talk about anything and everything that we can. So, I mean, obviously, any betas and things upcoming, it's worthwhile to get in there. I've really wanted to get in on the Halo Infinite's betas that have been going on, or they're open or closed tests or whatever it may be, whatever they want to call it, right? But I feel like it's always a mixed bag on what you're going to get with an alpha or a beta or any more, even a full launch game.
Oh yeah.
And I hate to even bring it back up, but Cyberpunk is kind of that perfect example of that game that launched probably a little too early.
What a mess.
Wait. Is 9 years later too early?
Well, I mean, depends.
A lot of people who've listened to me throughout the 50 episodes of Crossroads know I'm like one of Cyberpunk's biggest cheerleaders and stuff like that. But at the same time, I know where their flaws are and everything we're at. Like I played it on PC. And yeah, even on PC, like there still needed a little bit more polish and stuff. It wasn't as devastating as the console versions were.
Yeah.
Console versions were rough.
They were very rough.
I've always said, like, like looking at a company like CD Projekt Red, it's obvious they built this game on PC architecture for the PC.
Yeah, sure.
And then after success of The Witcher 3, they're like, okay, we got to make sure that we don't, like gatekeep, from the console community, because the console community helped them put them on the map. Seriously, I think what they should have done was, like, I don't know why companies don't do this. Why don't they just stagger their releases? If one version of the game is going to be available and ready to play, release that version, and then let the community know, hey, like, because I think this is where a lot of companies get in trouble with ports, by the way. Like when they port console games to PC or vice versa, what they'll do is, like, the Xbox version will be ready before the PlayStation version is, but they'll delay the game to get both versions out at the same time. I'm not saying that's bad, but at the same time, I'd rather they would just put the game out first, wherever it's ready out, because that game can do further marketing for when the other versions are ready and completed and stuff like that. People were going to play Cyberpunk, like, it's just a shame that, Cyberpunk came in such a bad state. And, the crazy part was, it only came out in a bad state for, like, the base consoles. Like, before I got my PS5, I never got a PS4 Pro. So I had the base PS4, but there was no way in hell I was going to get Cyberpunk for the PS4.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was rough.
That would have been rough.
I remember turning it on and just being like, I got to delete this because I think this is going to blow up my PS5. And, now that it's not hard still to find a PS5, but it was even more difficult that time.
Even harder, right?
Yeah. And I was like,
I can't afford for this thing to go down.
Yeah, if this blows up, I'm not going to get another one for like months. Good God. So, but yeah, I couldn't believe it too, but I totally agree with you. I mean, I think the reason why they don't do that is I think the community kind of pressures them into releasing things quickly. And people just don't accept, like, hey, we just need a little bit more time on it. But also, like, to your point, if they had come out with like, hey, we're working on the PC version and the console version is going to be a little bit later. This is why, and there's just a little bit more transparency as to like why. I think people would be chill with it. Like I also think there's like a weird stigma where the developers don't want to show the bugs that are happening, because like this whole thing could have been resolved if the console version said, guys, console version is going to get delayed. Here's why. Here's an example of what's going on. Here's a video of it, and then people would be like, holy shit, we get it. Yeah, exactly. Work on that.
I feel like it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type thing, right? Yeah. Like you were saying, if they had the Xbox version ready and they launched that and it didn't come to PlayStation players would be pissed off and vice versa, right? And so it kind of puts them in a weird spot. So I understand it, but at the same time, it does suck. Like there's plenty of games that start off on PC and then eventually make their way to console, whether it be a port or it was just something they were working on in the background type of deal.
Exactly. Like there's this one game that's been on PC for like forever, and we just got announcements. Like it's one of those space games, one of those epic space games where you build a fleet, you do all this stuff, you travel to different galaxies and all that stuff. I can't remember the name of it. I'm pretty sure somebody out there will probably know what it is. But basically that game was not ready for any consoles pre Xbox Series and PlayStation 5 and stuff. And now it actually looks like it's a reality and stuff like that. So they announced that they are working on a beta for that game right now. And it's like, man, this game's been out for like 15 years. And the consoles are probably going to see one, and stuff like that. I think the biggest takeaway from all this stuff, and then I'm going to circle back to the whole alphas and betas conversation for a second.
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway from all this is that the developers are in a they actually have more power than they know. And I don't mean like, abuse it and like, make, like treat us like assholes, us the gamers and stuff. They have more power than they realize, because like if the product is not ready, like let's look like this. If we were to go to a bakery and the cake's not ready, they're not going to give us a
you don't get a cake.
They'll give you the fucking cake. Yeah.
They're gonna be like, we need like 2 more hours to get this ready, and then we will give you a call as soon as it's ready, and you can please come back, just bear with us and stuff like that. Same thing applies. The developers and publishers have a lot more power than they realize, but I don't know if it's all like because they're at the whim of the board of directors and stuff like that.
Right.
That could be it, but at the same time, if somebody had the nerve to turn around and tell the board of directors, like, listen, do you guys want to have a profitable year, or do you want to have a shit year with crazy ass PR?
Yeah.
How much do you want to pay PR this year?
Exactly.
It's also like a multitude of stuff too at launch. So like from experience, like obviously if you're like a massive developer, there's like a little bit of leeway, but you'd be surprised how little there actually is. But on launch also, to get your launch lined up with like Sony and Microsoft and the cert process for launch, and like when you go through cert on your build that you're going to put out as your publication build, your first public build to the market, I mean, it can really, it's a long ass process. It takes a long time. They go through a lot of shit. Stuff comes up back and forth. Yeah. And if you have to pull between co-marketing agreements and other stuff, which if you're a public company and you have co-marketing agreements where Sony's going to blast this all over the place or Microsoft's going to blast it all over the place, you're going to miss out. You're going to miss out on those co-marketing agreements because the chances of somebody else having that shit 2 weeks later are pretty high, or a week later, or a day later, depending on how small your studio is. But yeah, I mean, there's just pressure and all around the place. But like Cyberpunk was also at the same time gave so many updates and they delayed it so many times. And I think that they had good reason to delay it, obviously.
Yeah.
Given the production version. But on top of that, like COVID and everything else, like, I mean, not that that's a cop-out, but I mean, like, it's a damn good reason to be like, hey, it's really hard to run our shit right now.
Like if nobody, if a third of the staff is dead or dying, like that's going to impact your game.
That puts a real damper on it for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't help. It's not ideal.
Do you want Cyberpunk 2077 or do you want a real live version of Resident Evil 9?
Yeah. So like into the topic of alphas and betas, I'll kind of lump those together. Mm-hmm. For me, I feel like alphas and betas are not really a real thing anymore. They're practically like a time-gated demo.
They're blending, yeah.
At this point, alphas and betas are like, hey, the game releases in a month. It's already gold as shit right now. We're ready to ship this thing out the door. It's already in half the distributors' hands. Check out the game, we'll make changes. And it's like, your day one patch is not going to include half the changes you need to do. There is not enough time in a month for you to push out some of these changes. So it's a weird thing that feels like a carryover from a different era. Age of gaming.
It definitely doesn't feel like a
early
demo.
2000s. Yeah. And so now you see a lot of these games where it's like, Riders Republic, and there's still a little bit of time, but I mean, they're not going to go in and completely change how the biking controls. Like the cycling is not going to change that drastically. Maybe they might make a few tweaks to it, but honestly, from most of the betas and alphas that I've played, I've never gotten the full game and been like, oh my God, they changed so much stuff. Like, it's been a long time since you've seen something like that. And that's when they would put the beta out like 6 months before it came out, Oh,
I was just about to say that. I remember the days when like a demo would come out like 6 months to a year before the game came out.
And it was a sliver of the game. Now I feel like I'm not complaining, but like the Riders Republic beta, I was not expecting that much shit in it.
Yeah, I played probably
pretty much felt like the full
7 to 8 hours of that game.
Felt like a full version of it.
Yeah, I mean, we were missing some things like their big events, their big mass events.
For
it was
testing, right? Obviously, but like like you used to get a demo, like a year back or 6 months back, and it would be like this little like sliver of the game, and it was highly polished though, so you could get a sense of what the highly polished version is. And now it's like I think it's just probably people's attention spans, to be honest with you, where it's just like everybody wants everything. But like we get everything at like a level 6 rather than getting like a quarter or a sliver of it at, you know, a 10, a highly polished thing. So that's definitely something that's, I think, hindered some stuff. Obviously, video games continues to grow as an industry, so obviously I think it's doing something for them. But I also think it turns a lot of people away from games at the same time because you're like, I'm not going to touch that. And then it takes you, you know, as a consumer, like another couple weeks after it launches to watch a couple people play it and be like, okay, cool. So they did fix that, or okay, that's polished, right? Versus just having a sliver of the game.
Yeah, that's a double-edged sword about that whole thing by itself, because like if a beta comes out or a demo comes out and it's I remember hearing so many people slam Outriders.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
I played that beta and it was okay.
So what was wrong with it?
I never played the full game, so I don't know what has changed. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I've had it downloaded and I've never ventured back to it, but the beta just didn't feel polished. It was missing. It was missing that I don't know, like the shooting and stuff felt okay, but traversal just felt kind of wonky. Some of the shooting was a little weird, like the snipers and stuff were a little off. I don't know, something about that game just never clicked with me, and I wanted to try the full game, and I probably will eventually. I mean, it is on Game Pass, so it's at my disposal whenever. But I just that beta was actually something that turned me off from the full game, which is also a weird line that these devs are walking when they do put out these betas, because it's like, if this beta isn't in the state that it is a finished game, now it's going to turn people off. So that's also probably part of the reason why we've pushed it to the point where it's like, hey, it's a month out, the game's basically finished, here's the beta, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because if they put out a bad beta, people are like, yeah, no, I'm not picking that up, I'm not buying it. Right. And that's also why I don't think you see nearly as many demos as you used to. You used to always see demos for all sorts of games, and now it's like it's few and far between. And usually when you do get a demo, it's because they're pretty confident in their game that it's going to sell like crazy. I mean, like Dragon Quest 11, for example, like that was an incredible JRPG, and they put out a demo that was like 10 hours long. Mm-hmm. Also, this game is like 120 hours, so fair enough. But to have that, and also in the demo, it would carry over progression, which games that don't carry over progression from betas really piss me off.
Okay, you know what? That is the one thing. That's the one thing that pisses me off nowadays. Like, okay, like you guys let us play the entire beginning portion of the game. You tell me I can't save my data at the last point, and then you continue the game on that?
Yep.
I have to play through this tutorial again and absolutely hate every moment of it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's boring. It's boring.
Yeah.
But it is weird, man. Like I understand where they're coming from with some of these betas and why they've waited so long to, you know, put them out and whatnot, because it is a weird PR nightmare that they could potentially walk into, but it also doesn't feel like you actually have any say in, you know, anything that's going to happen in the game. Like, hey, this is what it is. That's how it's going to be, and there you go. And I think that's kind of where, you know, early access is now coming in. But I also feel like early access is a little bit of a cop-out. You look at some games that have been in early access for years.
Forever, yeah. That's more the Steam side of stuff.
Yeah.
DayZ comes to mind. PUBG comes to mind. I mean, PUBG's full release now, but good God.
Is it?
I think, well, it's as full as it's going to be.
Yeah, PUBG is full release, but God. Ask the people who are still playing it, though.
Yeah.
There's people still playing it? Somewhere? I'm pretty sure it died everywhere except for on PC. I think PC is the only place it really even sees any action anymore. But yeah, that's one that early access game, and it was early access for like 2 years, it seemed like. And then it finally got a full release. And
Hades was also an early access game. It was early access for a little over a year.
I would argue that that's a good one that probably could have released. That could have just released, and people would have been happy. I mean, it was a Game of the Year contender as an early access game, like crazy. So it is weird. Like, yeah, you get just broad range of games where it's like, yeah, you get a Hades and you also have, you know, PUBG or DayZ or even like Escape from Tarkov. Like a few buddies of ours play a lot of Escape from Tarkov, and there's actually noticeable changes going on though. Like they've said that, you know, with each update, it actually makes a big difference, or they're in the, you know, stepping in the right direction and going towards what people want from the game and really listening to the feedback, which is cool. But some games, I mean, don't do that.
Now, I will say this. When it comes to betas, alphas, and demos and all that stuff, I'm really leery these days of it. Yeah. Because there's like a trifecta of things that are going on. Like you're either gonna run into like game breaking bugs that are gonna turn you off from playing the full version of the game when it comes out. Yeah. Or you're gonna run into just not enough substance, you know, like it just barely skims the surface of why you would even care about it, even though the pre-marketing stuff makes you want to care about it.
Yep.
And then there's the other possibly even uglier side where it's heavy spoiler content. Yeah. They show you too much. They show you too much in the beginning. I remember back in the PS1 days, the Final Fantasy VII demo that came out.
Did it come on in a magazine?
Yeah, it came in a magazine.
I miss that shit so much, bro. I miss that shit so much.
Yeah, and I remember you basically blew up that first reactor. I remember that. And I was like, that's heavy spoiler. Looking back on it now, it's heavy spoilers. You know, back when I was a young ass gamer though, I was like, oh shit, like I can't wait to play this game. But
that's like the whole first part of the remake.
Yeah, for real, yeah. Yeah. Another example like of like I'm probably gonna wax a whole bunch of PS1 stuff, but another fantastic demo was Metal Gear Solid demo. For the first Metal Gear Solid game, you weren't even doing nothing. All that demo did was teach you how to like shoot your SOCOM and knock people out. You didn't even see anything. Like I think all you did was run around the tank hangar and go up one flight of stairs, and that was it.
Yeah. Kind of speaking to betas, the Call of Duty Alpha, I guess. Sorry, that was on PlayStation first here. I played maybe an hour of it. I played enough to play through this one and only game mode they had in it, which is a new game mode. It's a decent concept, but I had no interest in this game anyway. I really just played it so I could talk about it on the show, and I was bored after an hour. I mean, it just was not super engaging, not super exciting. It felt like Call of Duty, but with, you know, World War II guns, and it was a new game mode that was like pretty much a yeah, kind of. Well, I think even the Battlefield 1 beta was a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, there's one map essentially in this game mode where you spawn in on like smaller maps. These are like the 2-on-2 gunfights essentially is all it was. And you go, I think there was like 2 or 3 of them in this rotation, and then it has like some of the elements of Warzone where you can buy things in between some of the rounds, but not all of the rounds, and so you had to be kind of smart with it, and you could upgrade your guns. Like, it's an interesting concept, but I found myself very bored with it after an hour. And I mean, like I said, I already wasn't going to pick this game up, but now I'm really kind of, it's like, this is their big new exciting game mode that they were really touting and really talking about, and it's fine. Like it's
fine. We're good. Everything's fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
Everything's okay.
And it was, I mean, especially in the stark contrast of playing Riders Republic, where I mean, I got like 7 or 8 hours out of this beta over the course of a handful of days, and really enjoyed
the one
what I did play.
Cheeses me about that beta though with Riders Republic is there's no microtransaction information into it.
Yeah, they kept that under wraps.
Wait. Because what, the full game's going to have microtransactions? Is that?
Yeah, so the full game's going to have, I mean, you know, different skins and different equipment that you can, you know, purchase for the game, which I understand. Like, you know, I get not letting me purchase it, but at least build it into the menu systems and stuff so I can at least research and understand, like, okay, what's this going to look like?
Yeah.
When I play it, because it's just a giant what if, basically, because it's like, hey, yeah, if I knew about it, and if I knew it was only cosmetic, or it was at least even just like fairly priced with the points and the coins and stuff like that, I guess it's a stars really is probably what you would use in the game, then I'd probably pre-order it. But the basis that I don't know that and understand that yet, I'm not going to pre-order that yet.
Oh, yeah. It is kind of weird because they gave us like 1,000 of the stars or whatever the currency was. I don't remember. Yes. To spend in the store. So you could buy some things, but not everything, because there was some of them that was that were sitting right at 1,000, but we also don't know if that's the final price, and they could have done it just for the beta so you could buy something, right? And then there was other stuff that was like 1,200, the classic microtransaction bullshit where it's like you can buy them in packs of 1,000, but this one's 1,200, so you have to buy 2 packs of 1,000 in order to buy that one thing, right?
Yeah.
And so they actually had like kind of what you would see, but it was also there was like 4 or 5 rotating skins through there over the course of a couple days, and then the actual tab where you could purchase this currency was blacked out. You couldn't see anything. It was just there. And it's very concerning where you're like, okay, but are we going to be seeing, like special bikes that have perks and things in there that are going to make a big difference, or going to be way better stat wise? Or is this going to be solely cosmetic? And, you don't really know from the beta how tailored this actually was. And and that's just from what we could see. I mean, there's a bunch of things that we couldn't see, and you don't know what that's going to end up looking like. And it's concerning, especially in a game that really lends itself pretty heavily to being just chock full of microtransactions.
Content, yeah, little pieces that you can have your character benefit from, yeah. And it was vague, too. It was like it was there, but everything was like a very weird like placehold number. It felt very placeholder, and you're like, what's this actually going to be? Because it's an open world game that's arcadey, so the whole point is customization after you've kind of, really done a lot of the map.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I feel like as far as, these main like not types of games, but types of experiences are just kind of, they feel stilted anymore. They just don't feel like they actually offer anything real valuable as far as, gaming goes. I feel like Halo and 343 has really been doing a good job with like their different flights that they've been doing for even the Master Chief Collection still, which is crazy. But on PC, you're still seeing these flights where it's like, hey, we're still testing this, we're still testing that. And I think they've been probably the most transparent and the most upfront with kind of what they're doing and how they're handling all this and what they're doing with the information that players have been giving them as far as feedback goes. But yeah, it seems like such a mixed bag with what you're gonna get anymore with these early access betas, alphas, whatever it may be. It's just kind of all over the place.
Yep, I definitely agree with everything you said there. It's just, I just feel like there's no consistency. Like, I'm not sure, if it's a situation where like developers and publishers are like, hey, check out what we got, or if it's literally like if we throw them this beta or let them run into this early access or whatnot, they'll shut the hell up while we continue to develop the game.
Yeah.
Because another thing that we do see is there are games that like people get early access or the beta comes out and the gamers give their feedback to the companies and stuff. And then the game releases, and they haven't fixed anything that was problematic, from the pre-release. Yeah,
it was just like a cop out for the time being. Like, hey, here, have some fun in the game.
Yeah,
there's I'm drawing a blank on what this game was called, but it was a kind of like Pokemon style game, but it was kind of portrayed as like an MMO, and it released in early access, and I played a little bit of it, and there was so many things that you could run up to, and it's like, hey, this is coming soon. Hey, this is coming soon.
Oh my God.
I know exactly what you're talking about, bro.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too, but I can't remember the name.
And that that was one of the biggest turnoffs I could have ever had in a game. It was one of those things I just felt like this was so Temtem. Yep.
Yes.
It was so unfinished, and I mean, I feel like with that kind of game, and I think that was a Kickstarter game if I remember correctly, but
yes,
I was very just turned off from it because I just felt like I wasn't getting the full experience, and I was going to have to come back to this area later on. I was going to completely forget about it. You know, there were these different things that you could do, but you couldn't really do at the time. And it was kind of, I mean, I haven't returned to it since that first month it released. And I know they're still doing things with it. I know they're still making updates to it, but it was one of those games that I don't really have a desire to go back to because it felt like there was only a handful of different Temtems that you could get and whatever. It was very bizarre.
It's still in early access.
That it released. It's still in early access.
Still in early access on Steam, yeah.
Another one that comes to mind is Baldur's Gate 3. I was super, super interested in this game. I will still pick it up eventually, but I'm waiting for it to be completed. The early access thing didn't interest me, especially for full pop. I mean, this game released $60, and there was like I want to say there was maybe 15 to 20 hours of gameplay there, which in some cases that's a full game, right? Like that's not a problem. But the fact that there was still going to be more coming, and there was still going to be more things added, and that was even, I mean, they were upfront with it, and they were like, hey, this is only a portion of it. We want you guys to play it and kind of help us build this out, but I'm not going to pick that up until it's done. That's a kind of game that I want to sit down, and once I'm invested into it, I want to play all the way through it. I don't want to stop and then have to wait 6 months and then come back to it again and try to remember what I'm doing, remember how to play, this and that. Like that's a game that I want to sit down and enjoy the entire experience. And over the course of, obviously multiple playthrough or multiple sittings, but still when I play a game, I want to finish the game. I don't want to bounce around and come back to it later. And fuck me. Right. I just, it's, but I'm glad people are helping out with that game. I mean, there's a lot of response to player feedback, and they're constantly putting out updates and more content and this and that. And that's a cool way to go about developing, especially in game and something like that. But it's not something that interests me. And maybe that's just me personally. Some people love that type of shit and feel like they are actually involved and they have a voice in it, and that's cool. But like I said, I just want to sit down and play the game and enjoy the game in its entirety.
Yeah, definitely with you on that one. It reminds me of one of the reasons that I complained about Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter Rise came out and it was basically incomplete. Like a lot of people don't realize that, but it was basically incomplete. Like, I mean, for a game series that's over 15 years old and stuff, like, like the fact that the highest hunter rank level was like hunter rank 7 was incredible. And then like 3 months later, like they give you like the actual like in-game boss, and it's like there should always be an in-game boss in one of these games. Like it should never be we have to wait for like three patches.
Right.
Like
and that's like you're saying, I mean, that's a game that people grind out. Like you were grinding through that game quickly. And so for, that's common in that series too. And for people to get to the end and be like, hey, there's not even an in-game boss, that's a problem. I
kid you not. That game came out on a Friday, and by Sunday night, people were already on their Twitch streams, like rolling the end credits. And I was like, yo, that's too quick.
Right. Yeah, that was on like Tuesday, but Sunday's too quick.
That is way too quick. And it wasn't even like they were playing like 96 hours, It was they actually, some people put in more work than others. Like I was one of those people, like I didn't make it to the final HR right until the week before like they finally were releasing all the new content, because I was like, man, something super wrong here, and I'm a Monster Hunter player. Like I've been playing it since 2004 on PS2 when your guy paused in the middle of a fight to drink a potion and heal himself.
Right.
And stuff like that, like shoot. these guys don't know how good they have it nowadays.
I've played a couple of them on the DS, but not extensively. And then I really got into it around World, and even then we ended up bouncing out of it because of how stupid it was to get into multiplayer. And now with Rise, I went into it pretty heavy. Granted, I never got into it. I mean, I didn't play it quite as hard in order to get to the point where I'm like, hey, I don't have anything left to do. But I've seen that progression over time, especially like I said, this is probably the most I've ever been into a Monster Hunter game. And to see that, people were at the end and they're like, okay, what now? Which is not how Monster Hunter is. Monster Hunter is very much about that in-game grind of being able to, level up basically indefinitely and continue to still go, And that's you still play World now, right?
I went back to World. I played Rise. Well, I basically considered myself finished World. Before, maybe months before Rise even came out, and so Rise came out, and I ran it, but I have a scheme for how I play these Monster Hunter games because these games are multiplayer games, but for the longest time, nobody wanted to play Monster Hunter because it was a game that was always getting low scores on reviews and stuff because nobody understood and stuff like that. So nobody wanted, and it was only on, and for a while it was only on handhelds. It was on PSP for a hot minute, then it was on DS for another hot minute, and then it was on the Wii. And nobody wanted to buy those systems just to play those games. I bought those systems to play those games, so I wound up being those guys you hear about that play multiplayer games solo. Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I have this scheme, and it forces me to make as much longevity out of the game as possible. I grind methodically to where when I get to where I want, I can coast for a little while until the next thing, the next challenge comes out. And usually by the time the next challenge come out, that's usually when the next update is happening. So it's right on time for me that oh, right as the new stuff's coming out, this is where I have to press myself to get better gear and stuff like that. So my problem with Monster Hunter Rise is that by the time we got to patch 3.0, I hadn't even gotten halfway through 2.0 because the game, they nerfed their own end game. And what I mean by that is usually by the time you get to a certain point in Monster Hunter, the end game grind is basically that you're getting either decorations or whatnot, or you're getting the high level drops, or you running after the high level drops. And that's how you wind up padding the rest of your time for the game.
Right.
They basically released it in a way that honestly, all you had to do is just keep on top of the patches and you got all the high level gear. You got all the high level equipment, all that stuff. You didn't have to grind for it. You just had to be already at a certain point. So I'm not gonna say it falls into your lap, but it felt like it fell into your lap.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so honestly, I was like, you know what? I've dropped over 1,000 hours in the Monster Hunter world across both the PC and the PlayStation 4. I know where the fun is to be had at. Plus, people are gonna say there's more monsters in Rise. There is, if you don't include Iceborne, there is. Right. But at the same time, it's what we know when the expanded version of Rise comes out, because every Monster Hunter game has a second game that complements it.
Yeah,
we know that basically there will be more new monsters and more of the classic monsters to show up and stuff like that. World is finished. I'm gonna play all those monsters I know and love, right now, instead of waiting for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I guess there's, a question to be had of, is it better to see, or in your preference, is it better to see a game come out in early access and slowly drip this content, or is it better to see a game come out unfinished and also slowly drip this content?
Oh God. Okay, you know what? I will say early access, because that way at least I know what I'm paying for.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh, bless you.
Good God. Allergy season, dude. Holy crap.
Round 2.
Oh my God, dude. It's awful right now with ragweed. So I think there's a happy medium where having a sliver of something come out that's highly polished, gives the consumer an idea and a sense of what's going to happen. And then I think also then releasing it in an early access for the rest of it is nice, because there is a great thing about, and I mean, I think it depends on the genre of game, but there is something to be said about having early access. And if there's a dev team that truly listens to the players, you get to kind of shape the game. Right. And kind of see the changes to it, right? So I think that's like, I kind of like that, but that's also like a Disneyland. I mean, that doesn't exist everywhere. Like that's very, very uncommon, right? So that's kind of what I think.
A game that plays. Go ahead. Nope. I was gonna say a game that plays directly into what you're saying, Jeff, is No Man's Sky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, man, agreed. The developers sit down and it feels like they listen to every single word that the player base throws at them.
Yeah.
And look at that game now. Like, that game was a joke when it released, like, what, 4 years ago? That game was a joke.
Yeah. 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, and now look at it. Like, it's getting awards. It's getting awards like year after year. Like, for the past couple of years.
Best ongoing game type stuff. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, wow. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Brody. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was gonna say recently we reviewed Mario Golf, Super Mario Golf Rush, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but that was a game that when we got done reviewing it, I mean, when we rate things, we say, buy, wait for a sale, or just don't touch it. And this was one that we pretty much were like, hey, this is kind of something we don't do very often, but wait for more content to come to this game, because right now it's bare bones. There's not enough here to justify a $60 purchase. We were stupid enough and did it, but for your sake, just wait. They're going to add more. And then it was like a month later, they added in another course that had already been previously announced. They added, I think, a new golfer, right? And then also they finally added online, like, ranked golfing.
Yeah.
Which is just something that for a game like that is such a big part of what the replayability of that game is, to have that ranked golfing.
It's the way that they did it.
Weird.
In the menu system, they could have shown ranked gameplay, and they could have said, like, season starts in 25 days. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? Because I understand you want people to build up a skill level in the game.
Yeah.
To then set a bar, right, within the league, but yeah, that's not how you do it. You don't just kind of be like, hey, it's not there, and then you bring it.
Come on, guys. This is Nintendo we're talking about.
I know, right?
Come on, guys.
I know, right? My thought on it, too, the game that came to mind to me, and I think it was just because, like, this early access stuff, I mean, while it was a thing, it wasn't utilized as much. But I was thinking of League of Legends, like early days.
Oh, yeah. Early days League of Legends.
Because that shit came out, and then basically like every month there'd be some interesting update where the UI would change or the map would change, and they really listened on the way, and you shaped the game. And I mean, again, I think it's a genre of the game. Having a, MOBA, makes that a little bit easier, but still, I think it was a great example of that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think even Overwatch didn't launch necessarily in like a early access state, but the way that game grew over time was really, really impressive, because you got to see all these new characters come in, and they were all free. I mean, you weren't buying new characters or anything, but
wasn't Overwatch about as bare bones as Team Fortress was when it first released?
Pretty much, yeah.
It was
and especially
very, very
in like
basic.
the queue-based things, and like arcade has expanded a ton.
Like there was only like 8 characters.
Yeah, it wasn't very many.
Yeah.
And then now you see where it's at. Like it's grown exponentially, but also it's like it's been forgotten. The game's really not seeing a whole lot of updates or anything crazy going on anymore, like it used to. And
but that team's also messed up.
Supposedly working on over. Yeah,
Jeff left, and then there's the whole scandal and all that other shit that went down, right? So
right. But I mean, even in the past year or so, it still has been kind of.
Agreed. Yeah, normally we would have had at least like 1 or 2 heroes come out.
Yeah,
and there's been nothing.
And, I mean, of course, they've been
nothing.
Right until Overwatch 2 launches.
Whenever that is.
That thing is practically a fucking unicorn at this point. I'm not sure it's ever going to come out.
Which is wild to me because think about how popular that game was and think about how popular it still is. And the fact that there's not really attention being brought to it. And then, people be like, well, it's Activision. They have some other stuff as well, like COD and stuff. I get that. But beyond COD, a lot of people are leaving WoW to go play Final Fantasy.
Yep.
Okay, people are pissed off about Diablo. Like, they're cool with the remaster, but the last
some
new
people
Diablo
are even mad about
shit
that.
we got was a mobile game.
I am so pissed off that Diablo 4 got delayed as hard as it did. Oh my god.
Yeah. And so I mean there's not much in the war chest per se.
Right.
Where I'm like, there should definitely be a little bit more attention on that cuz you also have COD and it's not going to be a surprise when Battlefield I think takes a ton of their market share because not only is it a new Battlefield, it's also a modern day Battlefield that we've not had for a decade almost at this point, and it's on a new console, new generation, and Battlefield's always been the one that has been technically or has a greater higher technical performance to it in terms of buildings breaking and shattering and just doing different things before COD
just a
did them.
Shitload of people
way
beyond what COD has really ever done. I mean, they've obviously with Warzone they've kind of branched into that a little bit more, but I mean Battlefield's been 64 players, and then it keeps growing. Like this one's supposed to be 128, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just crazy how many people are going to be in that game. But yeah, it's I agree. I think Activision has really put all of their eggs in just a couple baskets, and that's really about it. And I mean, WoW has been around forever. It's only natural that kind of starts to slow down, and Final Fantasy 14 has been killing it lately, and they're getting ready to essentially put a cap on the story. And so I mean it makes sense that a lot of people are jumping over to that, and I don't know, man. It's kind of weird. I mean, obviously, COD sells just gangbusters for them, so they seem to always do fine. But I think that popularity is starting to level out a little bit, and it's not. It's still obviously a massive series or franchise, but
going to do that great.
I don't think Vanguard will do
in comparison to the other CODs. There's always going to be the people that are like, I got to pick the new COD up,
Yeah, and it's usually the same people that are going out and buying Madden every year too. Like it seems like a lot of people I know and work with, they have COD and Madden.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think it's going to do poorly comparative to its other ones. I think people are just drained out of the World War I, World War II kind of basis fighting.
I know I am.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like I think there'd be a lot of benefit in doing like Nam or doing like
Nam's always a weird one. Nobody really wants to touch that one.
I know they don't want to touch it, but I mean still though, like think about like jungle warfare. I mean, I think that would be a nice change of pace. You kind of got a taste of it in Cold War.
Yeah.
Very, very briefly, but I mean, I think it'd be neat for them to expand upon that.
Here's the better thing. Here's the better thing. Why don't they just start making these shooters? Make it completely fictitious. Just like how we have movies where it says the characters and events depict this movie are a work of fiction. Just start doing that shit. Except we know it's like, oh, this is definitely Vietnam era. Oh, this is definitely Desert Storm, Desert Shield era. Oh, this is definitely Cold War era. So like that. God, don't. It doesn't have to be so on the nose that
doesn't have to be historical.
Yeah, you have people freaking out. I was like, we were on the beach when that happened. No, it doesn't have to be that serious. Like,
right.
to think there's so many people walking this earth, so many different imaginations and stuff. Yeah, a lot of ideas might run concurrently to each other, but come on, like everybody's got the capacity to make a completely unique and original thing.
Right.
Yeah. And
I think. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
That's why I was saying. Like, what? I know it's gonna be a bad taste. But Advanced Warfare, that was one of my favorite Call of Duty games. Yeah, there's a big stigma on it because of like the main actor. But but that was before we knew what we know now about him. But Advanced Warfare, man, the Modern Warfare games, I've always loved those. They're the Call of Duty but that was also because like back when I was really cutting my teeth as a gamer and stuff, like we had like Medal of Honor, Battlefield, and the old school Call of Duty that was all like World War I and World War II. I was like, come on, this stuff is boring.
I do miss Medal of Honor only because it was the campaign driven set of Medal of Honor was fantastic. I thought for that time of it being out.
Yeah.
And then like it's interesting too because SOCOM Navy SEALs like. That ended like PSP era, and then I don't know how well it would do nowadays if it went like online. I mean, it was pretty ahead of its time, but it just could never grab like market from the other two.
I think that's kind of or in the same realm as why I'm so excited for Battlefield 2042, where it's futuristic, just a little bit, not too crazy out there where you have like exoskeletons and stuff, because that's kind of where it's too far for me type of deal.
Well, but you don't want a little bit of Elysium in your war shooter?
No, I'm good. But I like just a little bit, like you got the robot dog type thing. Like that's cool. Like that's something that has some value
going on.
Yeah, a little chappy thing going on.
Like a couple of those last couple of Ghost Recon games. They're futuristic.
Like Future Soldier was fantastic.
Yeah, but not to the point where I was like, oh come on, like this is freaking what was the Jean-Claude Van Damme? What was it? They were cyborgs. Universal Soldier.
Yep.
Universal Soldier. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. Just slightly in the future. And with enough of like kind of an outlandish, not really even outlandish. I mean, at a certain point, it's almost believable, but where like a story that has nothing to do with like real world events
right now. Yeah.
Right. And also has the ability to, do other things, but still take place in real life places, which is cool because, people relate to things they've seen before. So being able to be like, hey, you're in this specific area and you're like, oh, I've seen pictures of that or I've been there or whatever it is, that adds a cool element to it. And then also to take it where it's like, hey, there's also a tornado that's coming through here because it's the future and everything's fucked.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm stoked for that, just for that reason, because like you said, I'm over going through World War I and World War II. I've done it enough, like Medal of Honor and I mean, Call of Duty, all of those games where it's like, hey, we got to play in World War II over and over and over and over and over again. I'm like, I'm good.
You know what? Games are so good at emulating like other art and life and stuff like that. Like shit, give us like our own video game version of the Hunt for Red October without it being the Hunt for Red October, something like that.
Right? Yeah. Dude, there's so many creative minds out there. Just do something unique.
You know what? That could be a topic for another conversation though. Like, why are there so many games that are exactly the same even though they have a different look? Why are there so many games that are like that yet?
We'll have to do that one on the next topic episode for sure.
Absolutely.
But
figure out our dream games for stuff. Yeah. I also think there's just so many games now too that, like, just to put this out there before we wrap it up, that there's so many games out there now that could go free to play model and be super successful, like a FIFA, a Madden, where it's just
which we're seeing we're seeing an alternative to FIFA
we're seeing the alternative from the competitors. PES
was it
soccer?
PES was who was the UEFA guys? Who?
Yep.
I think UEFA did it as well. But it's like I think it's smart. I mean, because really you're getting a roster update, and then every like 2 or 3 Maddens, you're getting like a graphical update, and like let's be real, it's not that great now from the graphical standpoint. Like I think the sports games on my PlayStation 5, they're the ugliest games, which is wild to me because it's a static field, it's a static stadium.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff going on the screen, but there's really not a lot. I get there's a lot of computing the routes and stuff like that and the AI into it, but I mean, like, I don't know. It blows my mind that we can have the Buccaneers flag in James Raymond Stadium be pixelated. and all of the flags flap in the same way, same animation and shit like that. And you're paying $65, $70 for that every year for a roster update, which is stupid.
And like you said, there's a lot of computing and stuff, but fuck, they've been doing it since the 90s. They've been making this same damn game since the 90s, where they all had AI. Granted, they might not have been as good as they are now, right? I'm sure it's better, and graphics have gotten better. But at the same time, I mean, the Series X, the PlayStation 5, and modern PCs are fucking powerhouses. Like, these things can handle more than what it's throwing at it. You don't have to have a static image of a flag. I'm pretty sure you could animate it. It would be okay.
Well, I have a theory about that. I think we as gamers get ourselves into that type of trouble because like we're not quick to hold their feet to the fire, when they basically give us shovelware year after year, I mean, it took Assassin's Creed Unity, for example, like to be the straw that broke the camel's back for that franchise, where everybody was like, oh no, like we're not buying another one of your fucking games until you get this shit figured out. Like we finally realized basically copy pasting this every game over and over, and as new tech is happening, like the old stuff is breaking.
Man, I haven't bought a Madden game in God knows how long, and even when I did buy it, I picked it up like the year after when it was on sale for like $10 type of deal.
I bought was last year's, so 21.
And that was out of how many years ago though?
I hadn't bought Madden since 18, but then see, I also had EA Play.
Oh.
So EA Access at that time, but I mean, I'm not going to touch 22. I'm not doing that. I probably won't buy 22. I probably won't buy 23, 24. The moment where they actually come out with it and I can see like the differences in the graphics, that's what I give a shit about at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also look at like WWE 2K. Like those games fucking broke, and they didn't change anything because they just kept trying to do the same thing. Yes. And hell, I mean, their main developer, Ukes, left. They fucking bailed. They're like, fine, you want to do this shit? I'm out. And they're going off to do their own thing. And it's very much like, it seems like a lot of that comes from higher up, whereas, some of the developers are obviously very passionate about what they're doing and they want to do a good job, but sometimes it's not in their control, where it is like, hey, we got to pump this out every year. And so get it done, figure it out however you can and be done with it.
Because Madden is just a reskin of UI every year.
Yeah.
Like, let's just change the fucking UI. We'll add a couple of new animations for the fan or a camera, somewhere like they did that. Like, so in like 21, they have the fan cam.
Oh wait, wasn't the big deal this year about Madden was they finally gave us a female commentator?
Something like that, yeah. It
was that, or is that 2K?
So here's the thing: if you go to Madden's website, Madden 22, there's no like new shit. Like it does not describe to you very well of what's going on. The big thing is the campus legends is the one big thing.
I thought that was NCAA football though.
Yeah, they tried to branch that gap a little bit. They tried to bridge
the gap of it, and then now there's going to be an NCAA football game that comes out. But they've been trying to bridge this gap for like 2-3 years by slowly doing like in the campaign mode, you choose your college, you get to choose like from like 12 colleges, and you play your game as like USC versus Gonzaga, or no, not that's basketball. They fucking suck at football. So we'll choose somebody else. Texas. But yeah. So, God. The grade of basketball.
So many colleges, and you chose
the grade of basketball. So dynamic game day. This is our two biggest things. Okay, all new in Madden NFL 22. Dynamic game day. Next-gen stats, star-driven AI fuses with immersive game day atmosphere to deliver the smartest gameplay experience ever. It's all powered by real-world data and built to emulate player and team tendencies. So basically, they're taking just like, hey, it's fucking Tuesday, and this is a rivalry between these two teams. The crowd is going to be louder, and there's going to be some padded stats on shit. And then the franchise, from the front office to the field, you're in charge of literally everything. You dish out stuff, points to upgrade your coaching crew, dominate with weekly strategy, and counter your opponent's strength, which I don't know that many fucking people that care about that. Usually it's Ultimate Team that they give a shit about.
Yeah.
If they do care about it. And then otherwise it's exhibition games. Like, we're playing a season. But it's interesting. Like, game day momentum. You feel the momentum swings of every game via the new performance-based momentum meter. Like, it's just... I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I think it's getting ridiculous. Like, they did the fan cams, and the fans look so bad. Like, you can tell what they did was they just had the models in there from when you're from the camera view, the fixed camera view of a player on like a huddle or whatever, and then instead they just dropped a cam into the environment because like their arms, they don't bend like when they clap. They're like, so you know that's just the shit that they had in the first two levels. You also never see it at the nosebleeds. Because the nosebleeds don't have that animation. They just have like shit moving, but you can't, see it.
Yeah.
So they only do the first row, and you can tell it's the same fucking models that they've used. They just put a camera on them. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
God. Terrible.
Crazy shit. And then they've basically just built like a giant app.
Yeah.
Instead of like the game. They're like, here's the game, and then it's an entire, app where like you're choosing what to say as the coach in this screenshot. Do you want to negate
choose your own adventure
mode, or limit passing at a fucking press conference?
Man. Hey, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right?
Can you choose to basically play like John Madden, where you're out there and you're just going,
you don't even
the
get
reason
legends.
we won today is because we scored more touchdowns than the other team.
The worst NFL game was, I think it was Madden 25th anniversary edition or something like that.
Yeah, that one was bad.
That was so bad. They basically
that was the one I bought
they took
way
like
late.
Madden 08 and then just like reskinned it.
Madden 08 was good at the time, but not for the 25th anniversary. It wasn't.
Right? Yeah.
God,
so bad, man.
All right. Well, you want to wrap us up here?
Yeah. No, this was
unless anybody has some
show.
closing.
Do you have any closing arguments or anything? No.
Well,
first of all, plug your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plug your stuff, and then we'll plug ours. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. You can. Once again, you can find me on Crossroads, PlayStation Podcast, Crossroads Games, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, normally. On twitch.tv/Exodus803. That's my Twitch channel. You can also look me up Exodus803. That's all my social medias. It's also my YouTube channel. That's also my gamer tag across practically all the platforms. Yep. Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, man.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Fantastic. It's a great conversation, as always. You can find us at Diggity Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. We go live with the show every Thursday evening at around 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And the audio version of the podcast goes live really, really, really early on Friday through the magic of scheduling, of course.
Yeah.
Remember to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to our podcast. We're literally everywhere for the audio version. You can find me on PlayStation. My PSN is Maple Jeff.
And you can find me on PlayStation at Luscious Brody, and you can also find me on Xbox at Luscious Brody.
Awesome. Well, thanks for letting us, invite you on last minute, dude, and coming on here and
no problem.
Sharing this with us, because it was a good time. I really liked the topics. I love doing the news each week. Don't get me wrong, but it's nice to also have a break for some time and just sit back and talk about just as a whole stuff.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. I love unstructured. I do.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
There's a beauty to it.
Behind me, my bedroom looks all super cool and everything. You don't know what's off the camera.
Yeah, I sat down to write show notes today and looked at the news. I'm like, Nope, we're doing a topic.
Oh yeah, that's
nothing on here.
Too. News is either messy or not good.
Absolutely.
I can't drag this shit out for an hour. We got to do a topic.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.